Building Trust Through Community Engagement by Muruvvet Akkaya. Today, I'll be discussing my community engagement program titled Strengthening Community Connections Through Culture, Country, and Collective Knowledge. I'll explain how this program builds trust and meaningful relationships with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, and why these relationships are essential for learning and participation. This program is a 2-hour community engagement session designed for Indigenous students, community members, and elders. It is grounded in culturally safe and strength-based practice with a strong focus on Indigenous knowledge systems and cultural authority. Key activities include yarning circles, storytelling, visual arts, movement-based learning, and place-based experiences on country. Elders play a central role in guiding the session, ensuring that knowledge is shared in culturally appropriate ways. A key way the program builds trust is through respecting Indigenous cultural authority. Elders are positioned as leaders and knowledge holders, guiding storytelling and learning activities. This aligns with Beveridge and Hinge McLeod, who explain that Indigenous knowledge is shared through storytelling and relational interaction. By prioritizing elders' voices, the program avoids imposing Western perspectives and instead values Indigenous ways of knowing. This builds trust because communities feel respected, heard, and represented. The use of yarning circles throughout the program is another key strength. Yarning is a culturally appropriate way of communicating that focuses on listening, respect, and shared understanding. In this program, yarning is used during introductions, storytelling, and reflection. This creates a safe, inclusive environment where participants can share experiences without pressure. It also reduces power imbalances, allowing everyone to contribute equally. As a result, relationships are built through genuine dialogue rather than authority. The program also builds trust through place-based learning on country. Activities such as outdoor observation and reflection allow participants to connect with land, culture, and identity. For Indigenous communities, knowledge is deeply connected to country, not just the classroom. Raimi Gassert highlights that learning outside the classroom improves engagement and meaning making. By recognizing the importance of land, the program demonstrates cultural respect and strengthens relationships. Relationships are essential because they directly impact Indigenous learners' sense of belonging, identity, and well-being. Priest and colleagues explain that well-being is strongly linked to community, connection, and cultural identity. When students feel culturally safe and supported, they are more likely to engage in learning. The program creates this environment by building strong connections with elders and community. This supports not only academic learning, but also emotional and social development. The program also includes learning on country, where participants engage directly with natural environment. For Indigenous communities, land is deeply connected to identity, culture, and knowledge. It is not separate from learning. It is part of learning itself. Learning on country allows participants to experience this connection firsthand rather than just learning about it in theory. This strengthens relationships not only with the land, but also with the community and cultural knowledge being shared. It also encourages participants to slow down, observe, and reflect, which are important aspects of Indigenous ways of knowing. This type of learning is meaningful because it connects knowledge to real life contexts rather than abstract ideas. As a result, participants are more engaged and develop a deeper understanding of both culture and community. Relationships are essential because they support Indigenous learners' sense of belonging, identity, and well-being. Research by Priest and colleagues highlights that well-being is closely linked to community connection and cultural identity. When learners feel culturally safe and supported, they are more likely to engage in education and participate confidently. Without these relationships, students may feel disconnected or misunderstood within educational settings. The program addresses this by building strong relationships with elders and the wider community. This helps create a learning environment where students feel valued and respected. These relationships also support emotional well-being, not just academic outcomes. In this way, relationships become a foundation for both learning and personal development. However, it is important to recognize that trust cannot be built through a single program alone. Relationships require ongoing commitment, respect, and accountability over time. If engagement is only short term, it can be seen as tokenistic rather than meaningful. This means that programs must be part of a broader, long-term approach to community engagement. Educators also need to reflect on their own practices and ensure they are not reinforcing power imbalances. This includes listening to community voices and valuing Indigenous knowledge systems. Trust is built gradually through consistent, respectful interactions, not through one-off activities. In conclusion, this community engagement program demonstrates how trust can be built through culturally responsive practices, such as yarning, storytelling, elder involvement, and learning on country. These approaches align with Indigenous ways of knowing, being, and doing, and prioritize respect, reciprocity, and community voice. The program highlights that relationships are not just an additional element of education, but the foundation that meaningful learning is built upon. Without strong relationships, education can become disconnected, culturally unsafe, and less effective for Indigenous learners. In contrast, when relationships are prioritized, learners are more likely to feel a sense of belonging, develop a strong cultural identity, and engage more confidently in learning. This demonstrates that building trust is not just beneficial, but essential for both educational success and overall well-being. Ultimately, this program reinforces the importance of ongoing, respectful, and community-led engagement as a key component of culturally responsive education. Thank you for listening.